Hi, I'm George, and for my comparative presentation, I'll be discussing two performance artists who employ humor and have an impressive online presence. The first is Jan Erichsen, who is a Norwegian artist who creates daily videos of himself destroying everyday items and addresses themes of absurdity and frustration and sometimes fear. First, I'll cover some works and then I'll comment on the digital presence. Here are some of his videos. As you can see, he works in a very formulaic way, always only him and his DIY contraptions in a blank canvas of a room. This formula is inspired by artists like Baldessari, who utilize similar methods, which basically increase simplicity. Another influence worth mentioning is Chris Burden, who drew attention to the destructive qualities of art through sometimes violent performances. Erichsen, however, adds a funny side and is now notoriously recognized as a balloon destroyer, for obvious reasons. He uses other objects too, as seen in the video, all conveying the same level of absurdity, but also dedication and commitment, since some of the contraptions are complicated and do not work on the first attempt. The fact that he is also so committed and uploads regularly adds to the futility of his repetitive actions. He has been exhibited for years all around Europe, mainly Norway though, and has been written about by respectable critics and magazines, despite his seemingly dumb artwork. His face somewhat demands a serious viewing, as if he cannot see the funny side of it, never smiling. Understandably, he has a lot of haters, but I think that's also a sign of having made it big enough. Due to his recurring aesthetic and formula, his Instagram has a cohesive feel to it, and the viewer or follower knows what to expect. If they follow because they like seeing balloons popped, they will not end up being disappointed because he never uploads unrelated side projects despite having them. He posts them on his website. He also uses a variety of platforms. This is his Twitter account. Less successful than Instagram, which has 710,000 followers, but still closing on 100k. He had over 100k followers on Vine and TikTok before they stopped being a thing. He uses Instagram to curate his videos, but Twitter to post photos, such as these. His photos and videos are similar thematically, but this separation demonstrates a dedication towards his online presence. Finally, Erichsen also has a YouTube channel with 20k subscribers, where he posts compilations of his creations all into one. He has nearly over 100 videos ranging from 2 to 5 minutes. To conclude my presentation on Erichsen, I would like to suggest watching these videos as a form of ASMR. My next artist is David Henry Brown Jr., an American artist working in New York since the 90s. He has adopted Instagram to create an alter ego persona called Nobody, who uploads videos daily of strange sculptures covering his face. He coined his practice as being impersonationist, using his body as a vessel to be utilized as a medium. Similar to Cindy Sherman, he is concerned with the contemporary culture of image consumption and society's narcissistic obsession with creating an online ego. Of course, his work is very funny, but also abject and unsettlingly uncanny. His extreme dedication to morphing his face calls us to consider social media's effect on the mentality of individuals as you watch the artist go what appears to be insane before the camera. For example, squeezing bananas on himself or using his head as a bowl for cereal and milk. He is similar to Jan Erichsen in his formulaic aesthetic, with his face centered in front of a blank wall. Another similarity is their level of seriousness compared to the absurdity of their artworks, shown by David Nobody adopting the term ressemblage for this project and citing psychological theorists in interviews despite being dressed as an ice cream sundae. A great quote by the artist is that ressemblage is like an inside-out person showing the grotesque, cryptic and traumatic side of humanity hidden behind the mask of the everyday. Additionally, he wears a lot of food to convey that we ourselves are essentially food for corporations, including Instagram. He's very interested in how we are both consumers and the product, being sold as data to advertising companies. This is also why he uses mass-produced objects like Rubik's Cubes or other toys. He does not exclusively use video, but takes hundreds of processed photos as selfies on his phone camera, similar to how some prepare for an Insta post. His work is diverse, but always follows the same pattern, each directed at the same loaded issues. This is his Instagram page, and as you can see, it also has a recurring aesthetic, and is very vibrant and fun, drawing in viewers. The interesting thing about David Nobody is how he uses the medium of Instagram and its wall to address and critique social media itself and an internet-induced vanity. The extensive body of work, which one can scroll through seemingly to no end, furthers the effect of the over-the-top sharing of online personas. His website describes other older artworks that his Instagram does not. One that interested me is his year-long project to stalk Donald Trump in 1999, and as a mockery, since he's a very left-wing artist, started a fake campaign for Trump to be president in 2000. Looking back on this work, it's fascinating, but also quite eerie, with funny interviews now holding strong connotations. It is also interesting how 20 years ago the artist was still creating false personas, as to achieve this Trump stalking, he had to pretend to be a conservative socialite who appeared to fit into these circles. Some older works are shared on his Instagram under stories, separating different series clearly for his followers. He also regularly hosts live performances on Insta, using tools of our time to present live performance. That's it for my presentation, and thanks for listening.